All right. Welcome to the Priest Lake Drive Neighborhood Street Traffic Calming Program meeting. This is January 31st, 2024, here at the Smith Springs Community Center. So I'll get started. I'm Harrison Turner with Kimley Horn here on behalf of NDOT to talk about traffic calming on this street. So we're going to start out with just the basics. What is traffic calming? The Neighborhood Street Traffic Calming Program, it focuses on residential streets, and we promote physical solutions to encourage speed limit or speed enforcement, basically. So there are actual things like the speed cushions that are in the road to make sure that we get the traffic down to a safer, calmer speed that's safer for everybody. And like I said, we do really focus on speed reduction. So the way we do this is through the 3 E's of traffic calming. The first one is education. That's things like this presentation, trying to educate the public on the dangers of speeding and how speed plays a factor in this outcomes of potential accident between vehicles, and other users of the roadways. Second thing is enforcement. That is outside of this program. That is with our great partners with the Metro Nashville Police Department. They really handle that aspect of the second E. And then the third E is my personal favorite as a traffic engineer. It is the actual engineering of the roadway. It's things we can do from an engineering side to try to promote the roadway to be a slower, safer, multimodal, corridor, I guess. So the reason we do this is, like I said, to promote safety and through the action of Vision Zero. That is the vision that there will be 0 deaths on our roadway. It's really easy to tell how big an impact speed has. There's a pedestrian and a vehicle and they get in an accident. If that vehicle is going at 45, that pedestrian only has a 35% chance of surviving that accident. Or if that vehicle is at a safer 25 mile an hour, they have an 89% chance of surviving that accident. So if there is an unfortunate collision, the slower the vehicle's going, the better outcome is going to be for the pedestrian and for the vehicle. So this is a very high demand program. There are over 500 applications that we have across Davidson County. We were able in the summer of 2023 to have more than our traditional selections. We were able to go up to 85 selections for this cycle, which has been great. We were able to do 85 streets as part of the summer 23 selection, and Priest Lake Drive was one of these 85 streets.
So that was selected summer.
Yes, that was part of the summer 2023 selection. Was where Priest Lake Drive came from. And that was out of those 500 plus applications that we've had across the county. If you have any issues outside of the Neighborhood Street Traffic Calming Program, Hub Nashville is a great way to reach any of our great Metro partners. I personally have used it to fix some sidewalk in front of my street. We have an app, we have 311, and then there's Hub.Nashville.gov. Once again, there's an app, there's 311 and Hub.Nashville.gov. So the way the streets are prioritized is a matrix of 5 different criteria. The first one is speed. That's really the main factor of how we select our roadways. That's 45% of the matrix. Another big one is volume, how many cars are on the roadway. After that, we've got vulnerable users, injury and fatality data, non-driver accommodations, and then trip destinations, churches, schools, places that people would likely walk to. So we have selected Priest Lake Drive because of those criteria. The 85th percentile speed is 36 miles an hour. That is actual data from Priest Lake Drive. And then we have a little over 650 vehicles per day based on our counts.
Okay, how do you get those? When, where, and
I don't have the actual date of the count in front of me. I'd be happy to give it to you when I can get back to the office and actually dig into it. But it's 36 miles per hour is the 85th percentile speed, which that is an engineering speed of 85 cars. 85% of the cars are going that speed or slower, which
so
obviously
85% are going no faster than 30 miles an hour.
Yes.
So that's even 15% traveling at 36 miles an hour or more.
That is correct. Yeah.
And that's based on what you found of 660. Yeah.
That's correct. We did some counts on the road, and that's what they came up with. And I'd be happy to get you the data.
Yeah,
what day?
I'd like to know when you did the count how long the counts lasted. I'd like to know where on the street the count.
Absolutely. We do counts per engineering standard, which is a 24-hour count done on a typical day, which is a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday during a normal schedule. So if school's in town, there's no holidays. You don't count in the summers or during Christmas or anything like that. So just a standard 24-hour count on a typical day.
And how do you get that information? Is it through the little rubber thing that people run over? Is it a camera? How do you know those numbers?
So we have a sub-consultant that we use. All they do is traffic counts.
You know what?
A sub-consultant. We basically have a consultant working for us that does these counts. They do these counts all over the Southeast. They're known for their quality. We use them for all of those streets that had the applications. The ones that were eligible to be part of the program, we had the counts done, and that's how we were able to
Do you
prioritize.
guys use this?
They not as much anymore. It does vary. They mostly rely on cameras at this point. In certain instances, they will use the tubes, which those are basically they roll a tube across the road, and then as a car goes over it, the tube will register. They like to use cameras a little better. It's a lot easier for them to count the data, and then you don't have to worry about, if the tube gets injured or something like sliced or a car runs over and gets damaged, you don't have to worry about the counts then.
How do you know where on Priestley Drive that they conduct?
We send them the streets and the segments as part of the selection process of the applications and say, hey, we need a count on this street between these segments, and that's where they go and they take the data.
So we have, I like to call it north and south, Priestley Drive. So when you're coming up at Anderson Road heading towards the recreation area, the first Priestley Drive would be the south entrance. And then as it loops around and comes up by the condos, that would be the northern.
Mhm.
So there's a big difference in traffic egressing from the north, Priestley Drive and Anderson Road, as opposed to egressing on the south of Priestley Drive and Anderson Road. Then you've also got the people that might say, come in or be on the northern part of Priestley Drive and come around and then shoot off Clear Lake Drive. So is all of that taken into account?
I do not have the exact location of where they put the tube or where they put the camera or tubes. I don't know which device they use for this particular street. I can go back in the data and look and let you know.
I would like that because broad data that we see as residents is that the majority of high traffic and high speeding takes place closer to the northern end,
Towards the lake.
towards the recreation area, up where the condos are.
Interesting.
That seems to be where we have a lot more volume of traffic
Mhm.
and a lot more higher speed.
Okay.
And just to add that, down that way, I mean, I can't even imagine 600. I can't imagine, I'm the first on Priestley Drive. She's like, I'm the fifth house on the left. Yeah. So that's why if she wasn't gonna ask that question, I'm gonna ask, where on earth? And see,
Absolutely.
and see, wait. I'm like amazed. I'm like amazed at that number. And because there's so many apartment complexes, they typically come in and cut through Clear Lake to get to. Or they shoot straight up Anderson Road. And then bust that left into our neighborhood.
That's good to know. I will let you know 600-ish cars a day is actually fairly low for a street. Typically, for streets in this program, we have a cap of 5,000 a day. There's a lot of vehicles that you don't realize because it's every trip there and back. So that's two-way.
Right. And if you figure on the east side of Priestley Drive, from end to end, there's 40 homes. And if you figure there's 2 people in each home, that's 80 cars.
Mhm.
And so, and there's more houses on the east side, west side of Creek Lake Drive, the side that I live on. So we've got cars coming in and out of the same residence. So, and so this is, and like you're saying, this is a low number by, by your own admission, okay? So the problems that occur in Priest Lake Park are not necessarily from people cutting through, egressing like the problem we have over on Edge of Lake
Mhm.
or those other streets. Problems we experience are residents that are actually living there. Because that it's truly it's the residents of Priest Lake Park itself that causes the situation on Clear Lake Drive. And that's another reason that's spurring us into a community organization trying to quell some of this. We're very concerned about our money and how our money is being spent. And for people that have lived here a long time, we are able to identify areas that really need help with it. And so I'm concerned about, I don't want to take from somebody else that has a greater need than what we have, but at the same time, I want our challenges to stop. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we have the prioritization matrix and we take that on all the applications that are eligible for the program. Make sure that we're not going out and putting traffic calming on a street that doesn't need it. And we're trying to hit the streets that we think are deemed most necessary. And what scares me with this is the 36 miles an hour. That's a lot higher than I really want to see on a residential street. I would like to see that sub 30, closer to 25.
And you know, we lingered a long time over here with the signs not being put up. And then we had signs that said 45 miles an hour. And then we had it on the road that said 25 miles an hour. So you had a posted sign that said one thing, and then you had markings on the street that said something else. So it's just, there's been a mess made over here that we would like to see an inappropriate that's helps everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So thanks for that.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
We're not trying to be confrontational, but just trying to share information with you so you know what we have a situation just to kind of give you some insight regarding a piece of property over here next to Compton and what was going to happen with that. And we had somebody from NDOT come out and talk to us about rooftops, and it wasn't a bad egress to get out on Smith Springs Road, and that having these multifamily homes would not really affect the traffic that much. And we asked him if he lived over here, and he's like, no, I live downtown. We invited him to come and stay with us for a week and to try to go to work and come home like we did. And then come back and tell us if he still felt that it wouldn't be a big hit.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
could find that out.
No, and that's why we have this meeting, and then we have an option for, yeah, we have an option for a second meeting, just to make sure that we talk with you. We want to know what it's like to live. I live in East Nashville. I know you live over by the office near downtown. So we're not down here. We're not down here every day. We want to hear from y'all and say, hey, I know your data says this, but can you look at it? Because there can be things that the data will say one thing, and it's because of some factor that we're not considering because we don't know the area. So that's why we really want to be down here to make sure we're talking with you and everybody else, to make sure that we're seeing it.
Same dog, but some are part of the tail, some are ears, some are feet, so not all the same, but the same animal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're here. And another option. Second.
So,
They'll be here. Yeah, they'll be here. They'll be walking up the street, knocking on doors. Because I think a lot of people, and this is my own opinion, but after what was said the last, I think a lot of people with life and everything just kind of put the holidays, they put this on the back burner. We were so relieved to have delineators resolved that we were like, and then we were promised, you're gonna get a card in the mail, it'll tell you when and where the meeting's gonna be, and the process has been above and beyond excellent for communicating and trying to let us know these days and things that are going on. Have a lot of, kids have a lot of people that jump through the internet. We have a really diverse community over here, and our neighborhood is changing.
Mhm.
So, I think, and so I think that has a good piece of the pie as to
Yeah.
where we are tonight.
Absolutely. And like I said, we've had some streets where nobody's gotten a car, we had some streets that weren't affected by the weather. So it really depended on how everything went. And like we said, our kind of step is we're having another meeting, so we're glad to, which I'm assuming y'all want the other meeting. Technically, it's optional. We're glad to come back out again. We'll make the drive again. We'll leave a little earlier this time. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So moving forward, we can always have time for more questions as well. So this just highlights your street. Let me see here. This just highlights pretty like anyway, so we'll have Priest Lake Drive highlighted. It's the one highlighted in yellow, the green route. The other streets that you see have had applications on file. Yeah, so Clear Lake and Anderson have applications on file. So those didn't make it quite into the selection period for one reason or another. But Priest Lake,
I believe the original application was 2021. It was more than that. It was wild. Yeah. It was wild. I remember when I did it, and they told me, you know what they told me? You're not a through street. You don't have enough traffic quality. And so that raised some red flags. You have that, and you have the delineators way. And now, so it's like, okay.
yeah. So like I said, our traffic calming program.
It's not.
Yeah.
You guys, but I mean.
Absolutely. Yeah. So our
I'm sorry.
oh, you're perfectly fine. Our program does do through the matrix that we showed earlier. That's how we select the streets. So that is separate from the other conversations, is the way I'm going to phrase it. You've had with NDOT other departments. But we do have Priest Lake Drive based on this. The data we showed earlier has been selected. I like to say it's a blessing and a curse because you're good enough, or you're getting something to calm your street down, but you're also bad enough that you were selected. So. So we have the street shown on a map here. And this is we're just going to run through our toolkit real quick, the things that the traffic calming program uses. I know we've kind of talked about some of these offline, but we'll just run through them real quick. So the first thing is those speed cushions that we talked about. They're our bread and butter. They're the things that actually have been proven to calm streets down. They're modular rubberized devices. They're about 3 inches tall, 6 feet wide. We can vary the lengths of them depending on the target speed that we're wanting and how comfortable we want it to be to go over them.
Okay, so can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Again, please don't move me out of the.
No, absolutely. I love questions.
So you have these, so these have been installed over Glengarry,
Mhm.
over by the Matco off of Murphy's. Okay.
Correct.
Those, I have friends that live on it.
Okay.
Okay. Those cushions that are over. So you have the that are like in a like one cushion. Side of the road, there's one cushion, like 4 parts.
Mhm.
One of the quarters is missing.
That is a problem, and we definitely need to get with our make a
There
note.
are some of them that have the delineators on the side of them. Some of the delineators are bent over, some of them are gone, some of them have them, some of them don't. And condition of the speed cushions themselves, which they haven't been there that long, but they're really in disrepair. And so that, for me, is a big concern, because, and I know it's not you, but like, that was another thing about the delineating. So you're gonna put all these poles up on the street, and so suppose some of them get hit, weather and stuff like that, they start to look yucky. So then what? Then we're stuck with them anyhow. Now they're ugly, nasty, and damaged. And they were like, oh, well, we're gonna have. I've been a year waiting for a yellow stripe up. I'm sorry, but I don't have a lot of faith that when delineators, whatever, fall into disrepair. And just like on Glengarry, there's the proof right there.
Mhm.
Nobody is rushing out there to address it. So I personally, the bus, people been injured, people getting on the tall ones. Yeah, it'll hurt. It's like a road kind of flexible. Well, yeah, but they're all lanes. But yeah, the people that did that, and nobody's coming out to prevent that situation. So,
All right.
yeah. So, for me, that's because we have a beautiful community. We have older homes. Most of them are 2,500 square feet bigger. Most of us sit on a third of an acre or more. We're in a rural green space area. You don't want it jacked up enough. You
Absolutely.
don't want to start looking like we're less than what we are.
Absolutely. And I will say, I haven't seen the ones on Glengarry personally to get like inspected what happened to them. We do have tolerances where we can use the cushions based on manufacturer recommendations. So, and then we even go more conservative than that. So if they say you can't put them on a hill of this deep, we flatten out the hill and say that's our max. So we have different things that we do to try to make sure that they're not going to be in disrepair. They are in disrepair. You can reach out to me personally and I'll figure out, I'll get with our maintenance crew and get it on the list for them to take care of. You can reach out to Hub Nashville. One thing as a traffic calming program is we have access to these in our warehouse. They are went ahead and, claimed for streets that are going for. We do have some for repairs and things.
Well, again,
So
we're solution driven. We're not looking. We're going to create a different problem.
absolutely.
We want a long lasting solution that's going to be low maintenance for you as well as.
Absolutely. So that is the speed cushion. Moving forward to something very similar, we have the speed tables. The difference between the speed tables and speed cushions, the gaps. So these do not allow for emergency vehicles to go with minimal disruption. They have to go over them instead of being able to straddle them because they have a wider wheelbase. They're also modular rubberized devices. They're 3 inches tall, roughly 21 feet wide, although they can vary. And then these are 14 feet in length. So the one good thing about these, and this is why we really like them, once again, we really care about speed. That's kind of our main thing. So these do a very good job of lowering speeds. So on the left here is the average speed. These are actual streets before and after that we have done in Davidson County. We were able to get the average down from 31 to 22. And we were able to get the 85th percentile speed from 37 to 25. So I do believe y'all were at 36. So if we put these down, on spacing and everything, we would estimate, around that 25, 24, which would be a lot better in case there is an incident with a pedestrian on the street and a vehicle, more likely than the pedestrian. Yeah, kid. If a kid got hit, more likely they'll be able to walk away, which is really that's really what I care about, is trying to get cars down slower so that if there is that unfortunate accident, everybody's going to be able to.
Yeah, because we had the new family living up on the corner where.
Yeah.
Talked about the four-way stop sign.
Yeah.
And these children are in the front all the time. Because I cruise through my neighborhood 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, these children ran out in front of my car. And I was not. And from time to time, I'm going a little bit. Just don't notice it. It's like, whoa, I'm doing almost 30. I need to cut it back a little bit. And especially now that these children are here
Yeah.
because they're constantly in, they're not even in the yard, in the street, and they're darting out from parked cars in front of the residents. So to me, they're like a little red flag place when I'm making my loop. This is where the kids are, be, extra cautious.
Yeah, absolutely. Kids are going to be kids. And unfortunately, they're not quite, I mean, I'm height challenged as I am, but they're also not quite tall enough, especially if you're in a bigger truck or an SUV. I've got a decently sized SUV and it's hard for me to see kids at times. So it's definitely a concern. And like I said, that's the main focus of our plan is trying to get those speeds down and get something to yeah. That's why we really like those two devices. The other thing I know you mentioned before, the radar feedback signs, those are not quite as effective as the cushions, just because they don't require somebody to slow down like a cushion does. But they do, on average, slow down speeds of about 6 miles per hour. Then get the 85th down by about 7 miles per hour on average. Like you said, getting people where they recognize what they're doing. They don't always notice, especially on hills, curves, that sort of thing. They're going down and they don't realize, hey, I'm going downhill. I picked up 5 miles an hour. If you have a radar there that shows, hey, you're going faster than you should, most people will slow down. But that is not foolproof.
Yeah, we like that.
Yeah, another thing we do is narrowing with pavement markings. That makes the driver a little bit more uncomfortable if you narrow in the lanes.
Yeah, we've got that already.
Yeah.
Except for the yellow, right?
Yeah. So
Because our curb to white are so wide.
Yeah.
That they actually have full driving between the curb and the white line.
Interesting.
Because
Yeah.
they think it's lane.
So that probably is an issue in and of
Because
itself.
we have to yellow line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we're waiting on them.
So typically, I'll just be honest, we typically don't use the yellow line unless it's required. It's not shown to really reduce speeds all that much. The white edge lines, your road is probably actually too wide for them to really be helpful. But for roads that are in between that 2 and 3 lane width, where you don't really know if it's 2 lane or it's 3 lane, you can add these white lines to try to pinch them in and make them feel like it's a tighter 2 lane. They work really well.
We have the white line.
Yeah.
And that's a 2 lane white.
Yeah.
That's what the people are complaining about now without the yellow line. Well, the first thing they're complaining about is because there's such a wide space, the white and walking lane between the curb and the white stripe,
Mhm.
that now they actually feel that the street is too narrow for 2 cars to pass.
Yeah.
Which is not if you're going in the correct speed and you have that yellow line showing the little road.
Yeah.
You go on that side, go on this side. So I think that this is definitely something that we need.
Yeah.
Because we have half of it there. We've got everything but the yellow one.
Absolutely.
We are.
They had a big, they won't even, I know it was the way.
Tom says he knows how to yellow line.
So moving on, a couple other things very similar, which we talked about with the white line moving over. So we have bulb outs and chicanes. Bulb outs are on the left. Basically, those sticks, they're horizontal delineators in the curve, which really makes you kind of tighten around the curve. We can use those on occasion, especially for wider intersections. And then chicanes are where we offset parking one side of the street to the next. So as you're driving, you have to horizontally deflect around the parking, which makes you slightly uncomfortable. It's not something you can do at a fast speed.
No, I don't think we're big enough for that. I like
The bulb out?
that bulb out thing
Hmm.
for where Priest Lake runs into Anderson.
Yeah.
Because we have a big problem on my end at the stop sign. When people are coming up Anderson, turn on Priest Lake Drive, they cut that short.
Yep.
We were sitting at the stop sign, stop.
Mhm.
And we had a guy in a truck hit us head on.
Ooh.
Bam. Yeah. Old guy up the street, we know him. And he said, "Oh, it's your fault." It's like, But they make the turn too short.
Mhm.
And I think, like I said, if there was a three-way stop there and maybe a few of the bulb out, that might be a great solution. But I would really think that the people that live on the corners.
Yeah.
Should have,
Yeah, well, that's what I'm getting at. So, yeah, but everybody on that street is gonna have the opportunity to vote.
Yeah.
But they have to get feedback from everyone, that's why it's good that you're giving
Yeah.
feedback. So
Absolutely.
in the second, they'll know, this is where at least people forward people.
absolutely.
That one, you take the door, coming off in from this, on the second house, there's a corner house really on the end of the road. And through the years, there've been at least
They go in the
five
neighborhood, right in the driveway.
in their yard that.
They try. Yeah.
One of the reasons for people.
So that's really good to know. That's something we can definitely incorporate. Like I said, these are great tools that we have, particularly in larger pavement expanses, which once again, y'all have the fortunate ability to provide that space. So, and then the last kind of thing we have is traffic circles. Once again, we have to have pretty wide intersections to be able to use these, but they do have the horizontal deflection that make the car go around, which does slow them. That is something we have in our toolbox as well.
And we talked about those, but I don't. I don't think.
Yeah,
I know they put a lot of them down in the new subdivision that they built, plain Tony's and like that. I think of the neighborhood, they have a lot of the roundabout. But I don't think that's viable for our neighborhood. I personally like, I don't.
yeah, we've had mixed success with these. Like I said, for wider intersections, they typically do better. For narrow intersections, they kind of get too small to actually be helpful. So it's really on a case by case basis. So now kind of going in to your street. So like I said, this is our first concept without talking to you. So we're gonna take your comments, go back and rework this. But currently, based on the speeds, like I said, the 36 mile an hour and our preferred method of the cushions, we have cushions spaced out at roughly 500-foot intervals, a little bit less than that. That is basically the spacing you need to be able to get cars to slow down and stay at a slower, safer speed without really like gunning it and getting real fast between sets of cushions.
Okay, I was gonna say, so this one right here is gonna be would be right by your house. That's Peninsula Court.
Yeah.
I'm up here by Lannawood and Stonewood. Stonewood's right across the street from my house. This is your house where this first one is, I'm telling you.
Proposed.
Well, it's proposed, no, but I'm,
Exactly across. That's from.
so this is gonna be right,
Make this a house.
Between your house and mine.
yeah,
It should be between your two
Yeah.
houses. Yeah.
because this is the second, this is the circle. This is where that new group home is going. And I'm like right across the street from that. So that would be right by Mr. Harris's house, if they're doing it right there at that intersection of Lannawood Drive. Because that's right, see right here at Woodbridge, this is right where you're coming down the hill.
Yeah.
So my house would be dead centered in between them two. And this one would be close to your house.
It would be close.
No, you could be able to come out of your house and not have to deal with that. I'd be stuck whichever way I go.
Absolutely. So like I said, it's based on the spacing needed to try to get traffic down. We're proposing 6 for this section. And then you can see there's a little match line here, that dotted line. We'll go to the next section, moving towards the north. So there'll be 5 on that section. So there's roughly 11 total. Priest Lake Drive.
That's the north.
This is north.
Yeah.
Correct.
That'd be the northern.
Yeah.
So how many the southern?
So that'd be 6 on the southern and 5 on the northern, 11 total.
On the southern,
and-
on the northern.
And like I said, we're trying to hit that little less than 500 foot, between 400 and 500 feet between sets of cushions.
But this was before.
This is without any input. We want to get our input and then your input and then marry them together.
So let me ask you this.
Absolutely.
So what if the people up on the north end wanted cushion and the people on the south end, not so much? So is it possible to do some? So is it all or nothing or some?
So this is, although you have mentioned that Priestley Drive really functions kind of two ways. This is technically one project, so it is kind of it's all one project. So there would be 11 or 0. Basically. And that's based on the current concept. Like I said, we're going to go refine it. Yeah. So that's, yeah.
That's just a question.
Absolutely.
Small or nothing.
So we put it up there. Yeah. So we look at it and we basically say, we present this concept, we talk with y'all, we get everything, we marry it together. We come back with what we feel is the best design. And then we say, is this something you like? Yes or no? So this is what the first step of that. We want to kind of come into it blind, based purely on the numbers, and then see how that matches up with the characteristics of the neighborhood. That's where we're at right now. You are welcome to. They have great apps on your phone. You can count them. Yeah. So this is kind of outlining the steps. So this is our process that we go through. So you start out with the application. So we have the application which you filled out. So 2 cycles per year. Like we said, we have the spring and summer, or summer and winter selections, I think is what it is. And then we have 2 months that we take all of the data, we go out and get the counts and everything, prioritize everything, figure out which streets really need it. The next thing we do is this neighborhood meeting, which is what we're having right now, where we take our design, we talk to y'all, we figure out how best to make it work. After that, we'll take all of your comments. We'll take about 2 months to go through and do field review. We'll go out there and measure exactly how the road is. We'll really redefine and refine our design, make sure that we have something that we're comfortable with, we think y'all would be comfortable with based on your comments. And then if you would like, we can have a second meeting based on the weather. I'm assuming that would be a good idea. That does add about a month to the schedule. Because it takes, some neighborhoods are, and there is a little bit of a backlog with the queue for getting things installed. The next thing after that second meeting is an online ballot. That's a 2-month process. We want to have 6 weeks for y'all to vote. So from when we send the ballots out and everything, it's a 6-week window. And that is every house on the street gets 1 vote, as long as you don't own multiple houses. If you own multiple houses, you only get 1 vote. We're not going to let you have 3 rentals side by side and get 4 votes. Absolutely, yeah. That's actually the next slide.
Oh, sorry.
Right. Yeah. And then the next thing is, once we get a ballot, assuming it passes, we will get those materials ordered. We have some on site, but those are already, accounted for. So we'll get some more materials ordered, make sure everything's good, and then NDOT will go out and install. Unfortunately, there is a little bit of a backlog, and the contractors are very busy, so it's about an 8 to 10 month construction period from the end of the ballot. So how the ballots work, we send out the ballots with the QR codes. There's also a phone number on there you can call. It's open for 6 weeks. Respondents can vote yes or no. It's pretty simple, and it has to be 66% of the people that vote. So if 10 people vote, we need 7 yeses. If 100 people vote, we need 66 yeses. It depends on how many people actually respond. But it is the people that actually vote. That's what's counted, and that's the divisor. It's not how many people are on the street. It's not the number that gets mailed out, it's people number that respond.
Okay, so traffic based on registered voter or registered property owner.
It's based on this ballot zone right here. So we actually pulled all of the property owners for everybody that owns property fronting Priest Lake Drive. So if you own a house or a residential property, or if you're a school or a church, you get a vote. Businesses don't get a vote. And if you own multiple properties, you get one vote. There's vacant property and you just own like a lot of land that's a field, which I don't think we have. They do not get a vote.
So the way that so to make it tangible for me, when we were on Mossville, if, they mail out 70 ballots and only 5 will vote, it's 66% of the fund, of the original city.
Yeah. 5 would be a really hard number. Because it's 4.
But it's the same thing with this, with the developer. Then, so it should be like one of them. You have to be heard. Otherwise, you can't. And that's what we're about.
Absolutely. And like I said, it's people that vote, 66%. That's based on our refined design, not what you've seen today. We're going to go back and change it up based on what we've talked about. So the last thing is questions. The NDOT, what email is a little bit covered up right there, but it's Nashville or NDOT TrafficCalming.Nashville.gov. This is my name and my personal email, Harrison.Turner@Kimley-Horn.com. I'm the PM for this project. I'll be leading the design effort. Once again, if you have any questions, Harrison.Turner@Kimley-Horn.com, or you can email NDOT TrafficCalming@Nashville.gov. There also is a QR code right here that leads you to Traffic Calming website for Nashville. For any other questions, is where the application was filed, and where all the balloting measures and videos and things will live. But
Can you go back, or is that the last slide?
oh, that is the last slide, but I can go back.
Can you go back just to the timing? Because I want to see, once you all get the design, a second design, do we get to see that before? But no, that's what I'm saying. Do we get to see that design before we have that second meeting?
So if
Or
you,
will you present that design at the meeting?
we typically present the design at the meeting.
Okay,
If you would like to see it beforehand, we can communicate and I can get that to you.
okay, yeah.
But typically, that's presented.
Okay. We want that.
That's presented.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, but we do like to, and the reason we do that is we don't want any preconceived notions, kind of influencing our design and vice versa.
Right.
We want everybody to see it together for the first time, and that way I'm here to answer any questions
Yeah.
where you can't.
Well,
you
that's,
won't
I
see
just
it
want to
like,
get
I
the
don't like
option for
this.
the people that missed this meeting, before they come to the second meeting to see, based on the feedback from the people that were here.
Yeah.
What the new proposed design is, and then give them feedback so that when we get to the second meeting, we can hit the green light.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, personally, that's my goal as well.
Okay.
To present the design at the second meeting, and that the majority of the homeowners on Priest Lake Drive are going to agree upon
Mhm.
and be happy with. Majority of people.
So that makes me wonder, so the NDOT TrafficCalming.gov email,
Yes.
do you get to see that? Do you get access to that?
So that actually goes to our NDOT actual traffic calming lead, the actual employee of NDOT.
Okay,
And then what they do is they shoot the email out to the responsible PM.
okay.
So of those 85 streets, I'm personally responsible for, I do believe, 10 of
Okay.
the 85.
So that.
So there are
in the
multiple
subject line,
ones.
they should put what
Yeah,
street
but
it
if
is.
you put Priest Lake Drive and send it to NDOT Traffic Calming, they will send all of those to me. And then if you have a different street, they would send it to that responsible PM. There's a
Okay. Yeah, because I have another
few
one
of
on
us.
Moscow. So,
Absolutely, yeah. That's one of my, either one of my coworkers at Kimley Horn or one of our other coworkers at Birch Transportation that works for great folks.
no, it's not the one.
That would
With the
probably Brad.
With
Yeah.
the marking of the road, would they be, could they be done before we make any of those decisions, or no? All of that is in one bundle.
So, like I said, those are two separate projects. We have our traffic calming project, and then the road markings that you're talking about are with the bikeway program. So those are two separate. We do coordinate together, but they're
Yeah,
separate.
from what how it went down, they're waiting on the traffic
Absolutely.
before they draw. No, not before they make the yellow line. Or by the contract to place on. That's, we want to get this further down the road. Yes,
Then we can go like,
yeah, but the yellow line is gonna happen, hopefully before. So one more question, Harrison.
Absolutely.
and throughout the presentation, where is the ability to add the stop sign? Who does that come?
So unfortunately, stop signs are not allowed under the NDOT, which is federal, to be considered a traffic calming device.
Oh.
There are actual federal warrants that you have to satisfy to put in stop signs.
Okay,
So,
how do you go with the stop sign?
So you have to go through the traffic division at NDOT. That's not something, yeah, that's not something you can really put in as part of a traffic calming measure because they're actually not allowed to be used to try to slow
That's what started off.
cars down.
We knew that with stop sign.
Yeah, that's guidance from the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices.
That's where it started.
Yeah.
And they're not.
They're not considered speed reduction devices. They're for safety, mostly with sight visibility, and volumes and things like that. There's a set of warrants you have to satisfy to be able to install
We're
that.
gonna eat this elephant one piece at a time. So you guys are great. I appreciate you so much for coming out and having a very detailed.
So,
And letting us know what, you had some really